All right, good morning, everyone. It is 8:48 in the morning of September 9th, 2021, and this is my strategy session. So, what do we have up on deck here? Well, it's really quiet. The scanners this morning, there's probably on my large cap scanner, there are probably about 24 stocks, and there's only one that's green on the large cap scanner, and that's Lululemon Athletica. And then on my small cap scanner here, there's nothing on the scanner that fits my criteria. I mean, there are probably about a half a dozen or a dozen stocks up, but none of them with the float that I like or the pre-market activity that I like. Just a pretty quiet start to the morning. Now, it could be that could change quickly at the open, or after the open. We'll have to see. But so for right now, what I'm watching this morning is DraftKings and Lululemon. BILI, I'm just watching this one. I had a lot of success trading BILI here between, the middle of November of 2020 into the beginning of the new year, 2021, during this run up from basically $50 to $150. And what it's doing right now is it's dropping pre-market here. It's essentially, you can't, it's in a downtrend at the moment. Now, does that mean, that it's in a sustained downtrend now, just for the time being until this thing decides to change direction and break this trend line right here? The trend is down. So I'm keeping an eye on it. What I'd like to see it do is bounce off of this support line right here to confirm the support line, and then break through the resistance. Now, this is kind of like a long-term, just waiting and watching kind of thing. That's the only reason that it's up on my charts today. CURV started popping up on my small cap scanner. This thing has a float. Shares outstanding are 110 million, which is really high. And then let's see, it's not on my scanner anymore. Here it is. Let's see, and the float. This is interesting. The float is 12.53 million shares. Pre-market activity is only 7,500 shares. So that means this pre-market move right here is pretty weak. Let me make that larger. So in this pre-market time frame between 4:30 in the morning and now, there have only been 7,500 shares traded. I don't think that this thing is going to be able to hold on to its price. However, you never know. So it's on watch. A stock with such a low float, I imagine it's because this thing just IPO'd here in July, on July 1st, which means a vast majority of its shares outstanding are in lockup. That's usually 6 months. So this could behave like a low float. It could behave, it could really squeeze up today if there are a lot of people who suddenly decide to participate in the movement, this pre-market movement. But as of right now, 7,259 shares pre-market, trading pre-market is not a strong indication. In fact, it's a very weak indication of any sort of large participation in the move. All right, so DraftKings here. Now, what I'm looking, this is something that I've just been watching for a while now. I'm looking for a push past $64.19 and a hold on DraftKings, and then a further move up. So what I'm looking for today, I should put this on the 10-minute. Let me pull up the 10-minute here. So today, what I'm looking for on DraftKings is move past 64.19, retest and a continued move further and higher. I don't know if that's going to happen today. It might not. Yesterday it broke through 64.19, couldn't hold. It dipped down, and so the yesterday's open was here at $63.71. And at the end of the day, DraftKings made an attempt to get back and close above the open, but couldn't do it. Eventually, you can say it failed, but only by about 30 cents. Yeah, only by about 30 cents. So it's not like a huge rejection from this price range occurred yesterday. That's encouraging. So once this thing decides to make its move over 64.19 and then hold, there'll be momentum behind that move. I'm gonna go ahead and put an alarm on 64.19 today. So that's on watch. Okay. Next up, Lululemon. Now this one is interesting. Lululemon here has made an enormous pre-market move, and I say enormous because the stock. If it opened up right now, it would open up at $428.20. It's a 12.43% move, which yesterday's close was at $380.85. And so that is on. I suppose it reported earnings, so it beat on revenues, it beat on earnings, and its forward guidance is over what the market analysts. The stock analysts who cover Lululemon have given it. So it's beating on all fronts. It's beating on revenues, beating on earnings, and beating on expectations, forward expectations. That's very bullish. What is this thing going to do today? It's hard to say. I've seen in this earnings season, I've seen a majority of the stocks that beat on earnings, beat on revenues, and beat on expectations. I've seen them do one of sort of three scenarios. The first is it sells off down to about the 70. I use 75% instead of whatever the 72% Fibonacci is. It sells off, at the open. There's some profit taking, and then it decides to catch support down there, right here in this area, which would be $415.35 a share. And then crosses back above and then takes off and blazes past its open and takes off for the rest of the day. That's great. Another scenario is that so far that I've seen in this earnings season with this setup is that it just opens. You buy the open and it rips past the open without looking back. That's a really tough trade to get into because there's no indication. When it dips down to the first Fibonacci here and then comes back above it, that's an entry. It's an easy entry. Or when it breaks past its open, that's an easy entry. If it dips down at first in the first minute or two and then comes back and rips it past its open again, that's an easy entry. And then the other thing that I've seen here is a dip down to between its 61.8 and its 50% fib and then catches support and then continues upward, maybe to make a test of its open or something like that. So it's been a pretty good earnings season so far this year for predictability on stock price behavior. What happens with Lululemon, still the possibility exists this thing sells off and goes all the way back down to its previous day's close, to completely close the gap. That's always a possibility, I seriously doubt, I haven't seen anything like that happen on a stock this season so far on a revenue beat, earnings beat, and forward expectations beat. So I do have a high degree of confidence on making a trade on Lululemon today. Just exactly what setup it's going to be is just going to have to reveal itself. It does look like there's, if it starts to dip down, it does look like there's support somewhere around this 415.35 area to 414.39. So I might stagger a few shares between those two price points. Pre-market for a quick pre-market dip and then rip back up. Then after that, yeah, I have nothing really going on BILI, no real trade there. CURV, if this is going to trade, it's going to be a momentum setup, so I'll be looking for a 1 minute momentum, next higher candle, kind of real fast scalp trade. And so that's kind of it. That's all that I have going on individual stocks this morning. I really like to have 4 or 5 strong candidates, but it's just the way it's going right now. We're coming to the end of earnings season here. And there's a little bit of rotation happening in the market. Momentum, in September, momentum can be pretty spotty, so that's, right now I've got one strong candidate for the day. And, DraftKings, I would call, if DraftKings moves above 64.19, tests above it and, rolls up, then that's a strong candidate. But for right now, it just remains to be seen. Lululemon, I have a high degree of confidence. It's gonna show some form of trade, whether it's a move past the open, a break past, the morning dip, so on and so on. Okay, so for the broader market here, if the SPY opened up right now, it would open up 0.05% lower than yesterday's close at 450.70. There are a lot of people, there are a lot of folks who are doing a lot of L8 wave analysis and, Fibonacci analysis and so forth, who are seeing some increased resistance coming at the roughly where we are right now, between 450 and 460 on the SPY. And so, yeah, sure, why not? However, there really isn't, and so let me say this first. We are going into a bit of an economic slowdown. However, GDP, although GDP isn't growing as fast, GDP is still growing. Inflation is probably going to be a little bit higher than expected, and I don't think the Federal Reserve is going to allow rates to rise along with what would historically be, a rising inflation threat would mean rising interest rates. However, I don't think the Fed is going to allow the long end of the curve to rise along with inflation threat. Right now the Federal Reserve is doing both quantitative easing as well as Operation Twist, where they're involved in both ends of the curve, the short and long end of the curve. And so I don't see rates really compensating for inflation so much. And that's kind of a good thing and kind of a bad thing. When inflation affects everything, including, the cost of equities on the market. However, and this is where the big, there's a big, when you hear people say that the market is no longer based on fundamentals, it's because of a couple of pricing, one pricing model in particular, the capital asset pricing model. Now it's been, 10 years since I've done that, derived or done any calculations with the capital asset pricing model. However, a part of that pricing model includes the 10-year rate, or what's called the risk-free rate, in estimating the value of a capital asset. And so without a rising 10-year rate, anyone who likes to value stocks based on the capital asset pricing model is kind of just they're in the dark. They're kind of wandering around. It's like kind of like sailing without a compass right now for all the value investors, because the risk-free rate isn't producing the values that most investors who are value investors, they're not getting what would be called kind of like true north. So right now, and what that means is that you can't really be bearish on the market right now. And there's also forecast to be more growth coming into Q1 and Q2 of 2021. So maybe we get a pullback here. I mean, it's possible between now and, let's say, the end of October. I mean, anything's possible. I mean, a move down to 400 to 403. There's still a gap down there that hasn't been filled yet, and that would be, a 10+% correction. So is it possible that we get a correction down to there? Yeah, sure, it's possible. I seriously doubt it, though. I just don't see it. And there are a lot of people who are calling crashes right now. The market, the S&P is rolling over. The economy is softening and contracting massively, but that's not really true. The economy is contracting. It does seem to be slowing down, or you can't really even call it contracting. I mean, I would. If there's a negative GDP print for, I don't know, we'll call it October, November, something like that, then yeah, the market has, and I say the market, there are certain sectors in the market that have, absolutely good reason to go bananas and tank and so forth. I don't think that's going to happen. I do think that we are going to see a lower rate of GDP, but I don't think that we're going to see a negative print on GDP. So, things are still growing. The economy is still growing. It's just not growing at as fast as a rate. Now, that can produce a pullback, in the equity markets. That can certainly produce a sideways market, So, right now, as of right now, I'm still bullish on the S&P. We could go neutral here pretty soon, but for the time being, I'm still bullish on the S&P. I'm still looking forward to seeing the VIX here break down. If it opened right now, it would open at 18.15. I have 18.21 as this sort of area of resistance, and I'm looking for it to break down below this support line here at 15.75. for a move up to 460 plus or so on the S&P. As of right now, there's what is developing in Q1 21 and Q2 21 is a really significant amount of growth in the economy. So and until that case is proven otherwise, I'm going to be bullish. All right, and let's see Bitcoin here. Let's take a look at Bitcoin. Okay, so Bitcoin here is recovering from this incredible drop. It's attempting to recover from this incredible drop that happened on the 7th. Right as of right now, this is on the daily here. This is neutral, and until, let's see, where is that level? Here it is, right here, 49,436. Until Bitcoin can break back above 49,436 and hold it and continue moving higher, Bitcoin is neutral. Bitcoin is neutral in here. I don't trade Bitcoin. I am looking forward to investing in some miners. So, I am looking for entries here on Bitcoin. But as of right now, Bitcoin is neutral. Once it climbs back above 49,436, then it's bullish. If it breaks back down below 42,000, if it breaks that back down below that, then it turns bearish. A close below that will be bearish. Not even sometimes you look for confirmation, because sometimes you'll get a tease. It breaks down below, it'll be a bear trap kind of thing. Not on Bitcoin. If this thing breaks below 42,000, there's going to be a significant amount of confidence lost in Bitcoin. Okay, so that is my morning trading session, or my morning strategy session. Good luck out there, everybody. Keep your risks tight. Click like, share, subscribe, leave a comment, tap the bell, and I will see you at the recap. I am out.